This channel is made possible by viewers like you. My viewers, subscribers, and patrons greatly help to keep this channel going. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for all of you. Please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any uploads. And if you'd like to go the extra mile, please check out my Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you'll get access to what I'm working on, previews of upcoming content, and even early videos, along with other tier options for those that are interested. Thank you, and now on to the video. PlayStation is running their annual Days of Play sale, and there's a lot of games on offer. With that being so, it can become a lot to comb through all of the titles to see what you might be interested in. So I wanted to provide some options if you are a PlayStation player and have been looking for some new discounted games to check out. Dead Island 2 hasn't been out for long, and now it has a small discount with it being $55.99. I haven't beaten this title yet, as I'm slowly going through it, but it is really fun. It honestly might be one of the most fun games I've played this year. I recently beat the first title and playing this one back to back. You can see many of the appreciated improvements, the one big one being that it feels considerably less janky than the first. Now don't get me wrong, Dead Island 1 has plenty to keep you entertained, but it has a healthy amount of jank too. In the sequel, the violence has been upgraded as well to match the current day tech, and it's really impressive. This title receives solid reviews and has now gone on to sell 2 million copies, so I think it's safe to say that we are going to see more from Dead Island. At the same time too, we are getting hit with a lot of titles right now, especially big ones, and I think Dead Island 2 is getting a bit lost in the shuffle. Sure, the title doesn't really do anything new, but it does bring the fun, and it does a great job at that. Plus, so far, it seems like one of those perfect games for the summer. If you're looking for a fun title to enjoy in either single or online co-op play, then check it out. Now let's move on to a reliable and fun series that I always enjoy. EDF 5 is on sale for $23.99, and this bug shooting game is definitely campy, fun, addictive, and full of a certain type of charm you only find in Japanese games. Your goal is to shoot all of the bugs you come across. You have plenty of different weapons and even vehicles to use, and better yet, it features both split screen and online co-op play. With split screen being something that we rarely see in big games anymore, it's always nice to see it featured in other games. There's a lot to unlock and upgrade, and even different character classes to use. Earth Defense Force 5 is the perfect game for some quick fun or longer play sessions, as shooting bugs never gets old. Now this title might be a bit older now, but just like its prior game, this has aged like fine wine. Deus Ex: Mankind Divided is easily one of the best games of that generation, and one of my absolute favorite games as well. It excels at being a compelling RPG, a rewarding stealth game, and a third-person / first-person shooter. Big AAA stealth is hard to come by now, with Hitman being one of the only ones keeping it alive. Mankind Divided is the sequel to Human Revolution, and sadly that one hasn't been remastered for modern consoles. I hope that does get that treatment someday soon. In Mankind Divided, the story is great as well, with it focusing on a counter-terrorism plot, and each of the side missions feel like their own fully fleshed out episodic stories. If you are looking for something with a large amount of replay value and provides a great amount of player choice, I have only good things to say about this title. Literally the worst part about it is that it ends. It had some crap thrown in there with microtransactions, but I put more of that on the publisher than the developer when it comes to that stuff. If you haven't played this is an easy recommendation with the wealth of content you get, especially with its really low price, with it being less than $5. I love Deus Ex. Ghostwire Tokyo is becoming a title that I find myself drawn back to. I'm a huge fan of the developer and their prior Evil Within games. Ghostwire showed that they can make something different with a shift in perspective along with its open world design. It isn't a perfect game, and it does have some roughness to it, but I very much found myself enjoying the slower and maybe even slightly clunky combat. The effects are cool along with all of your energy-based powers. Traversal was a nice surprise as well, as you're zipping from rooftop to rooftop. The main story and the chemistry between the two leads carries the game and brings some satisfying emotional weight to the narrative. I do not think this title got the attention it deserved when it came out, and it's probably one of my favorite PS5 games so far. It's different in its approach and has a great visual design, and it goes for $23.99. I am a sucker for a new arcade racer. I'm not very good at racing games at all, especially sim-like games, but arcade racers give me that fantasy sense of speed. And when you just look at the racing that Hot Wheels provides, it's really good. The sense of speed is solid, along with trying to maintain that with each of the races. I have spoken on this title before, and it is a situation of a very fun game, but it has a bunch of wasted potential as well, as it can feel like there's missing features, or like the developer should have patched more to improve it. That being said, at $10, this is a steal and a very fun game. If you're looking for a fun racer and can look past some of the shortcomings, I think you'll have a good time with it. The Mafia games provide some of the best writing and stories that you can find in the gaming medium. Each one captures different elements of being in the mob, and sometimes the consequences of it. The first title is a classic and was remade for the PS4. For the most part, the story is kept the same with some changes. Some of them I honestly like more time being able to flesh out your wife character. The first title is set in an open world, but the structure is that of a linear title. Gameplay is a mixture of fist fighting, lots of shooting, and driving. If you want something a bit more old-fashioned with a nice linear story, the first is great. Now, included in this trilogy is the second game, but the remastered version of it. This isn't the best version of that title, as I think the older version looks better actually with the visuals. It isn't the best remaster, but it's a fine way to experience the title if this is the only way you have to access it. The gameplay variety is similar, with fist fighting, lots of shooting, and again, plenty of driving. 2 has a great story as well, and it's pretty funny too. Again, this is set in an open world, but it's mostly a linear story game. The ending might leave you a bit conflicted as well. The third game is sort of like the red-headed stepchild in a way, because 1 and 2 feature you being in the mob and growing your life there, but 3 features you as an outsider who is trying to systematically take down the mob. Mafia 3 is also the longest game of the 3, and I actually find it to be underrated. It does have some flaws with stability, but when it comes to the narrative and storytelling devices, its story is on par with the prior 2 games. I really like the gameplay as well, since many of the encounters give you the options for both direct gunfights and stealth. It's up to the player. Plus, all 3 of the DLC expansions are great. Mafia 3 honestly feels more like a spin-off title, since you're attacking the mob this time around, but it's also still a great game. Plus, the trilogy is on sale for $23.99, so that's a pretty good deal for 3 high-quality games. Now, there are some other titles I would recommend as well, like Guardians of the Galaxy, which goes for $23.99. This game is way better than I thought it was going to be, and a lot of that comes down to its great writing and story. The gameplay is solid too, but the story elevates everything in it. The characters have a lot of chemistry, and I was surprised it didn't have any preachy nonsense, especially with it being a modern Marvel game. Stranger of Paradise is an odd title because I couldn't get a good read on it from all the trailers. So out of curiosity, I tried it when it came out, and it turned into one of my favorite titles that year. It's a nice mix of Souls elements, with a lot of the gameplay being more in common with the action Final Fantasy titles. It was a great surprise, and for $31.99 you get a lot of value, plus you can play the entire story in co-op. This is just a handful of titles I think that are worth checking out. What titles are you considering? And also let me know if you like this type of video and would like to see me do more sales recommendations again for something like PlayStation, Xbox, or maybe even PC. If you're interested in being notified of new videos, please hit the subscribe button and bell. And if you would like to support the channel and get early access to content, please check out my Patreon. All of the links will be at the end of this video and within the description. And thank you very much for watching.